Hi, my name is Tyrell Black. I am from Northern Ireland here in Ballymena, and I am, I guess, best known as a musician, but I am many things. So I got into music when I was younger, in high school, maybe. I remember in music class, we had these keyboards and we would share them between two people. And I noticed I had this natural ability to like hear songs and just play them, but I never thought anything of it until um, maybe around 18. I bought my first guitar, and then that was just it. I was obsessed. I was obsessed with like rock and roll and being a rock star and playing solos, and that just took me in totally. And then I guess playing in different bands, rock bands and stuff like this. Um, and then I formed the band with my two friends called Electric Octopus. And that started to expand my musical influences and my way of expressing, because prior to that, all of the bands and all of the music was like written, structured music, whereas this became like a free form thing that all of a sudden it's like, hold on, there's something outside of just me happening here. Like this channel almost, I don't know how to describe that best, but it's like you step out of the way and the music then takes over. So that was my first understanding of how that operates. And then through different experiences and ceremonies and things, I then started to really tap into that and understand the power of music, not only for myself, but how that can expand out into other people.
Feel your fire, let it burn, let it burn, raise you higher.
So my experience of playing music beyond Northern Ireland, so through the band Electric Octopus, um, we were gigging loads here when we first started, and all of a sudden we just blew up. We blew up online, and all of a sudden festivals and promoters and people from all over Europe and further started to invite us to come along. So I had never really had this experience of travel before, not so much. And then all of a sudden I'm traveling all over in a van with my two close friends playing music. It was just mind blowing. And from the experience playing here to the experience playing around Europe, I feel like it was much more music was much more valued and appreciated, and that really seemed to again expand my mindset towards the power of music and where you can go with it. Um, and then falling into the likes of like Indian classical music. And then I've traveled to India, and while being there, I became obsessed with music there. And I didn't really do many gigs, so to speak, or playing loads, but I then fell into studying with the sitar, studying with the flute, studying with X, Y, and Z, just obsessed with it. The power of music is alive in me, and understanding that can take you anywhere, you know? So my inspiration musically initially came from like Jimi Hendrix. Like I was obsessed with Jimi Hendrix when I was younger. Thin Lizzy, all the great rock and roll people, you know. And then I came across Guns N' Roses, and all these bands I don't listen to now, But at the time, wow, it did something to me. I remember my friend let me hear a Guns N' Roses album in his house, and I was just blown away. I was like, that's it. That's what I want to do. So then I spend my time like constantly obsessing over Slash and Guns N' Roses. He was like my idol. Like I dressed like him. I had the hair like him. It's so funny to think back. Um, but then through those artists, I then started to get curious. Okay, well, what's their inspiration? So then I took that back to like old blues, and then again from the band Electric Octopus, I guess, like because we all came from different musical backgrounds, I then got interested in jazz and I got interested in la 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 la. So it really expanded. And my mom was always interested in reggae and soul music and country music. So there was always a variety of things playing. And then fast forward to later in life, when I hear Indian classical music, I seen a concert on YouTube of someone playing the bansuri, which is the bamboo flute, and that was mind blowing. And I never thought that I would ever learn. I had a whole journey, and decided I was going to take a break from playing music. And I arrived in India, and I first music shop I went to, here's the flute, and I bought the flute, and that was it. That was my journey into Indian instruments. And I was never trained, didn't take lessons, just did it all myself. And then I found a teacher for the flute in Varanasi just before the lockdown. I had about 2 weeks of lessons until I was locked down. So my biggest teacher then was, I guess, peace and quiet and being by myself. That was the teacher. And the same with the sitar. Like I just bought a sitar and sat down with it and tried to play and learned and learned. And then later I have studied in Rishikesh. There's a teacher, a great teacher called Pankaj. And he taught me with the flute, he taught me with sitar. I play an instrument called a Mohan Veena, which is like an Indian slide guitar. So he was teaching me, giving me all this knowledge just by sharing, I suppose. But the idea of the ragas and the depth in that music, just I don't know how to say it other than it touches my soul. So I play a lot of different instruments, and at the exhibition and the concert. I don't really decide so much beforehand really what I'm going to play. Sometimes I bring everything along, but there'll be things like the handpan, there'll be didgeridoo, there'll be sitar, there'll be the Indian flute, there'll be guitar, there'll be voice, um, maybe some harmonium. Who knows? But there's a variety there, and I like to take these instruments and somehow find a way to blend them all together. I recently got this pedal that works as a drone, so I'm going to have that as the bass and then just expand with all the different instruments and the different textures. So, as the title says, the shapes of sounds, this event will be based around music and based around the artwork also. And with the artwork, it's kind of the same as the music, where, like I said about this drone, there's a central point and everything expands around that. And you'll see in all of the artwork that that's kind of the shape of the sound. And music and art for me are totally linked. There's no separation. They are the same thing. So I could be playing an instrument and I'm just seeing these shapes and colors moving, and I just put that on the paper. And how that came about. So after I left school, I went to art college, and I don't know, I wasn't like, I never did this style of art. I kind of lost touch of it. Basically, I find it hard to do the art and talk about it. So I left. I wanted to be a rock star, so I quit that. But then later in life, I started to play the didgeridoo, and something happened inside, and I have a deeper understanding now of vibration and what it can do. But I played the didgeridoo, and instantly I started to see these shapes and colors and patterns, and that just sparked all of this creative process for me of the shapes of sound, essentially. That the vibration, our bodies are 70% water. So of course, if we're vibrating through an instrument, they're going to be creating these shapes in us. And I believe that what I'm putting down on paper is somehow transmitting that inner world that's happening with the music. So the process of creating the artwork sometimes begins with I have a clear image and I have a clear idea, and other times it just comes through the playing of an instrument, So I could, and many times this happens where I sit and I stare at a blank piece of paper while I'm playing the sitar, while I'm playing the flute, and again, this concept of a central point is usually there, and most pieces of the art start with a central point. So I'll be playing with this in mind, and all of a sudden, something will form. So I'll do that piece, and then I'll maybe step back and play again, and then the next piece, and the next piece, and this can be a long process. Very often, 80 plus hours, like hundreds of hours even at times. And that's okay. I don't want to rush it. I don't want to force it. And I can tell the difference in a piece that I've created out of just wanting to do it versus this natural flow. So there's no rhyme or reason necessarily there. It just comes through from this vibration of music. So I would like to invite you along to the Arts Temple Belfast at 1G1 Studio to the Shapes of Music, where I will be doing a live concert. There will be the art pieces as an exhibition, and it's interactive as well. So although I won't be creating the art here and there, you will get a sort of insight into how I've created these shapes.
For this new day.